Hello everyone, AmyR here with Prairie paper and ink, and for today's card I'm using the WPlus9 Bunny Mask-erade stamp set, and I am stamping the images I want to use onto some Bristol Smooth cardstock with Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink. So I decided I wanted to use all three of the bunnies because I couldn't decide which one to choose, so I stamped all three of them. And then I had decided before making the card that I wanted to color them and create all these little moose characters. So I stamped the bunnies and then the moose masks. And then I also stamped a bunch of the pumpkins because I was like, well, it's kind of Halloweenish themed. So I'm going to add some pumpkins. So once everything's stamped, I'm going to go in and start watercoloring these all in with my Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers and a water brush. And I do everything in stages, so I did all of their little faces first, and then rather than keep their bodies the same color, I decided to color their bodies brown. I'd seen a card, I'm not sure who did it, but they had done the bunnies' bodies as the same color as the masks they were using, so it looks like the bunnies are wearing like an entire little outfit, and I thought that was adorable. So I did that with these as well, and I only used two different shades of colors for each section, so two different grays for the little bunnies' faces, two different browns for the outfits, two different oranges, etc. I will have all the colors listed on my blog as usual, like the whole picture of them and everything, and kept it really simple other than that. And then the next thing I did, I didn't want to trim apart the die set. There was only one die that was nested in the middle of these, so I'd already cut that out, but I didn't feel like trimming apart this whole die set to get the dies I wanted to use. I don't know which way is easier, honestly. It's personal preference really, but this is what I do when I don't want to trim apart the die set and I don't do the little my trick of lining up all the stamps with the dies. I didn't do that this time because I wanted to use multiple pumpkins and multiple masks, so that would have been a bit more of a pain. So all I did was I just kind of trimmed down quickly with scissors each of these images, line them up with where they fit with each of their dies, and then tape them into place with the micropore tape. So it took a couple of minutes, but it's not like it took all day or anything, and it just works. But yeah, I don't know if in the end that saved me any time rather than just trimming the dies apart and using them that way, but it works. I made it work. So I ran all of these first little set of images through, and you can see how the little mask goes over the die. I couldn't stop myself as I was pulling them out. I'm like, oh my God, it's so cute. So ran through the first set, and then I had two more masks to die cut and four more of those pumpkins. So I just ran that through 3 times. So I've got all of my little images die cut, super quick, super easy. And then while I've got my big shot out here, I just had a scrap of Canson XL watercolor paper. That's why I decided to use that rather than just another piece of Bristol Smooth. So I ran that through with one of the My Favorite Things. This is one of their wonky stitch circle Die-namics. And then I had pattern paper from the Lawn Fawn Perfectly Plaid fall pack. So I ran that through as well with the second largest die from the Simon Says Stamp basic rectangle set. So I did all that die cutting, and my plan was to create a galaxy background for these bunnies, and I was going to use my zigs to do it. Never done it before, wasn't even sure if this was going to work, but I was like, meh, I'll just do it. And I was like, if it doesn't work, I just won't include this in the video. So basically all I did was scribble on color onto this die cut circle here. So I used a yellow and an orange and then kind of an aqua blue color. I was pulling colors from the pattern paper. And on camera, actually, this actually looks okay. I could have just kept it this, but my idea is I wanted to create a galaxy background. So I quickly dried that, and then I went in and added black, and it looks like a hot mess. It honestly does, but from what little I've done of galaxy backgrounds, it always looks like a hot mess until you add the splatter. So I stuck with it, even though right now it looks awful. It's like, it just looks ugly. It really does. But I scribbled on that black, watercolored it out quickly with my water brush, and then did another layer, just added a little bit more black just to deepen it up a little bit. And I was only using my water brush to do this instead of a larger watercolor brush. Like, I was just making it work, and it works. Trust me, in the end it works. So I did all that, let that dry again, or like sped that up with my heat tool. Then I pulled out my little splatter cubby here to save me from getting splatter all over my desk. And then I used Copic white, my Copic opaque white that I absolutely love for white splatter. So I got that onto an acrylic block, and I watered it down a little bit for this first little bit, and then used just a small paintbrush to mix that up, and then flick that against the acrylic block to create my splatter. So I started adding some splatter and it was pretty faint. I'd added a little too much water. So I did it a second time with some more white, and I ended up doing it 3 times altogether to get the amount of splatter I wanted. I wanted, you know, really fine splatter. I wanted bigger little dots and everything to really create this, like, to make it look like stars. And that's what makes these backgrounds work. You know, they look like a mess, and then you have that splatter just, and then all of a sudden, you know, it kind of looks like stars, and it's like, oh yeah, galaxy background. So I was happy with it. That's all that matters. So did all that, let it dry, and then I grabbed a piece of craft cardstock and ran that through my machine with that same dye I had used on the watercolor paper there. So I ran it through once, and then I turned it upside down and ran it through a second time so that the stitching was along both sides, so it kind of fit with all the stitching along that galaxy background, and that creates my actual ground for these little bunnies to sit on. So once I was happy with how that had gone through, I'm going to adhere that to my watercolor piece with some Tombow Monomulti adhesive. So get that all into place, and then I had decided I wanted a little bit of a frame around this watercolor piece. So I die cut some Orange Fizz cardstock from MFT with one of their small, it's actually got small scallops and a stitch line around the edge, but this will cover up the stitch line, but I didn't care about that. I just wanted the little like scallops peeking out. I just thought it was a cute little touch. So I chose that cardstock because the orange kind of went with this pattern paper as well. So then I popped that onto the card, or onto the pattern paper with some foam tape, so it's popped up a little bit. And then to adhere my bunnies and the pumpkins, I'm using a combination of some Tombow Monomulti for some of it, and then some foam tape for a couple of the little pieces, just so like one of the bunnies is kind of popped up. And I also decided to have one little hat there, little moose hat popped up, and then one kind of as if it slipped down. They're so cute. Seriously, I still can't get over how absolutely adorable these are. So adhered my little characters, and then the sentiment I just did off camera, I just stamped it onto some black cardstock and embossed it with some Ranger super fine detail white embossing powder, and it says, "I moose you." So somewhat Halloween themed, but yet not totally Halloween. So did all that, and then I backed the pattern paper with just a piece of black cardstock that just kind of pulled everything kind of together, the galaxy background and the sentiment. And then I adhered all this to my card base, which is some blue raspberry cardstock, and I chose that because of the blue, kind of aqua blue in the pattern paper. So I adhered all that in there, and then I had some leftover pattern paper from the front of the card, so I trimmed that down to adhere to the inside of the card. And then my last bunny and the remaining pumpkins, I adhered, and that finished off my whole little card. So as always, I will have a link below the video to my blog post. I'll have links to all the supplies used, so check out the description box below the video if you're interested in that. I'll also have a couple links here at the end of the video to a couple other videos I've done using the same pattern paper. Thank you all so much for watching, subscribing, thumbs upping my videos. I really appreciate it, and I will see you all very soon in the next one. Bye.